yeah, that's it. This night we're going to be talking about is around I just came back not too long, so it's around 11:45 p.m. Nigeria time. So this now we're going to talking about IVF, about the pros and cons, about the process of the procedure of IVF, the success stories, and the so not success stories, and how to deal with, if it doesn't come out positive, how to work out of it. Welcome back again. So basically, I've always been on this IVF thing for a while, and I've always wanted to talk about it, because some time ago, give or take about 2 years ago, no, close to 3 years, 3 years ago, I was in a clinic in Port Harcourt, and actually the name of the clinic is the Bridge Clinic in Port Harcourt, the fertility clinic. We're going to see my doctor, and I heard the lady just walked up to me and asked me good evening. At first she said good afternoon. I told her good afternoon, and she asked if I was here to see the doctor, or if I was here for the cycle, or is this, in other words, is this your first time? Are you here to make inquiries as well? And now said no, I came to see the doctor. At first, she gave me this shirt, and okay, she went back to the seat. Then after a few minutes, she came back and she's like, can I talk to you about something? And I say, okay, it's okay, please sit. And she's like, okay, my name is so. I live in Port Harcourt. I told her my name is so. I live in Owerri. Then I was living in Owerri before I moved to Abuja. So she was like, can she talk to me about, ask me some questions? I said, okay, please, fire, go ahead. She asked me if I was a doctor. And later she said, okay, since you're here to see a doctor, are you on a journey as well? Are you trying to conceive? Do you have kids? I said, yes, I have a kid, and planning to get another. I'm on a cycle to get another, the procedure to get another. She said, oh, really? I told her yes. And she said, she's so sorry. I said, I've done it before, but this is my second time. She said, I'm so sorry for your loss. I said, no, I didn't lose anything. All thanks to God, I'm amongst the few ones that are lucky. She was like, oh, really? That when I told her that I was, I'm on the second round of IVF, she thought maybe I lost the first one, and maybe I'm coming for, another, process or another procedure. So and the kind of questions she was asking me, I was like, okay. She was asking me if I breastfed my baby normally, like a human being. Term, that was how she used it. Like, did you breastfeed your IVF baby normally, like you breastfeed a human being, so way to say, like a baby? I said yes. She said, I'm sorry for asking you all of these questions. I said, it's fine, no problem. So she said, that did I register antenatal like normal hospital? Told her yes, she's a child, she's a baby. So I said yes, I was pregnant with a child, a human being. So it won't be far-fetched for me to go to a hospital and register for antenatal. She asked a series of questions. I was like, okay. Some people know the meaning of IVF. Some have heard it before from 1 to 2. Some, out of ignorance, they don't know what it is and tend not to ask. For what reason or the other that is best known to them. So I'm like, okay, there are so many people that are going to be the same boat as this lady. Why not talk about IVF? Okay, let's talk about IVF. At first, we have to learn the meaning of IVF. IVF is actually an abbreviation of in vitro fertilization, and it's just a process. It's a process in which eggs are removed from a woman's body and combined with sperm outside the body to form an embryo. That's just the basic, simplest way to what's it called now, to define IVF. It's a process. It's a long process and it's draining. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a mom of 3. I'm actually a mom of 3. I have a teenage daughter that is 18-year-old. I have a second one that is 5 years old, and I have another one that is more or less 18 months. I know you're going to be confused. Why the gap? Okay. My second child, my second girl, and the third one are my biological daughter. But the first one is my foster daughter. I won't say adopted because names have not been changed, so I would call her a foster daughter. So technically, I have 2 kids, biological kids, 2 girls, and that I had them through IVF procedure. So apart from knowing so much about IVF, I've experienced IVF as well. So I'm talking from the knowledgeable part, and I'm talking from experience as well. So I'm going to share from my experience. If there is any other person that wants to share from hers, you're welcome in the comment sections. It's a chit chatter. It's like a chit chat kind of thing that, if there's anything you know about IVF, there's so many people that want to go through IVF. Some are scared of needles, some are scared of the procedure, some they heard so many things about the procedure from different people, and some didn't preach the gospel too well. And I actually have a cousin's wife, that she told me, damn, if you can go through all of this and all of the pains and a lot of injections, that she can't even stand taking paracetamol, that's the slightest, that she's not seeing herself going through IVF. So every time we talk about it, I try as much as possible to make her understand that your journey will be different from my journey. You might even go to a fertility center and they would not tell you that you don't need to go through IVF. You could actually do IUI, and some other things like that you don't have to do the extreme, which is IVF. So now we are going to talk about the process. So IVF, during IVF, what they do is matured eggs are collected. They call it retrieval. Medically, they call it egg retrieval. They are collected from the ovaries and fertilized by the sperm or with the sperm in a lab. And this is done by an embryologist. Those are the people that deals with embryo, IVF, and stuff like that. So then these fertilized eggs or embryos are transferred to a uterus after a while. So the procedure is, what they do is they are going to be on series of medication for a while, and the drugs that you're going to be on, or the injection you're going to be on, I'm going to list in the next video. So try as much as possible to watch, because it's really a long process. It's not something we can explain in a video, no matter how long it is. We need to break it down, a step after the other. We don't really have to rush this, you get me? So what they do is you're going to be on some medication for a while they may monitor your eggs, matured eggs. So because a woman's body is supposed to produce 1 or 2 eggs, but I'm not sure it produces more than 2 eggs in a month or in the cycle. So in this process, what they actually do, or the technique is, we cannot see what is happening within your body or inside your body. So in the IVF process, what they do is that they bring it out, and it's like, this is sperm and this is egg, you guys must meet by force. This could be caused by different factors. It could be from the woman, it could be from the man as well. So, and all those you're still going to explain in more videos to come. So what we're doing today is we're just trying to yank a little bit of this and that and put it together. But in as much as we're trying to cut it short, we need it to be more explainable enough. We need to break it down and so that everybody could relate with it. So what you do is like you have eggs. What did you use? You produce egg in a month, and you tend to meet with your spouse, your boyfriend, your husband, I don't know. So you tend to meet with the masculine gender, a male, which is going to produce sperm to fertilize the eggs and get you pregnant. But unfortunately, we can't do this, or they can't do this. Doctors cannot do this inside of you. So what IVF does is that they bring all of these things out because they really want to know the reason why this thing is not working, why you're not getting pregnant. So in a situation like this, what they do is they bring out the eggs and they have a sperm ready, to inject into this procedure. There is one that they call IVF, and there's one, the advanced technique that they call ICSI. The difference is that between ICSI and IVF is that the IVF, they leave the eggs that have been retrieved from your ovary, they leave it in a pan or bowl or whatever it is, and they put the sperm and allow or watch the sperm swim to meet the eggs to fertilize them. But in the case of ICSI, what they do is that they inject the sperm into the eggs, like you must germinate or you collect, that kind of thing. So that's just the difference between the both. And before we get to the retrieval, you're going to be on some medication for a while, and when you're on that medication, they tend to check the eggs that you produced, how many they are, and what the size. There's this amount of size that they want and the amount of eggs that they want. So if it's not enough, that's why I said it differs. You might produce a lot of eggs, you might release a lot of eggs, and the eggs might be healthy enough. It depends on the body. The eggs might be healthy enough for them to to retrieve in a short while. And where body is different, some people still tend to take more injections and take more medications, take more drugs, and sometimes to have multiple eggs they can pick from, and sometimes they have multiple eggs, but the growth is kind of slow. So if my process is faster, that means the number of medication I'm going to take, so that means the number of medication I'm going to take, I'm going to be on, is going to be reduced compared to the people that have a slower process. So after the monitoring of the eggs, and how they monitor is just transvaginal scanning. They don't have to cut you open. So what they have to do is pass and do the scan from your vagina instead of the pelvic one that we all know about. So afterwards, when we have a good amount of eggs and the size that we want or what they want, they bring out, they inject the sperm into the eggs, or they allow the sperm to swim and meet the eggs. So this process is, aftermath of the process takes 5 days, 4 to 5 days, depends on the clinic, 4 to 5 days, and they call you up to come and collect your embryo. So at that point, after the sperm has been injected into the sperm has been injected into the eggs, or they swam to meet the eggs. So they pick good number of eggs and inject them. So this has to stay for 5 days. In that process, that's moved from the eggs as egg stage and sperm stage to embryo stage. So they call it an embryo at that point. So they call you after 4 to 5 days, depends on the procedure or depends on the clinic. Some do 4 days, some do 5 days. But most hospitals, most clinics, they do 5 days. They call you up for egg transfer. So in the process of egg transfer, what you have to do, and I should not forget to tell you that the process of retrieval of eggs, no one can go through the pain, is excruciating. So people tend to sleep. It's not even people tend to sleep. They need to make the patient sleep. So it's a painless procedure, but a painful aftermath. Not very, very painful though. But why I say it's a painless procedure is that you're not going to be awake, you're going to be sedated, you're going to be asleep when the process is being done. The process of the egg retrieval, you are going to be asleep, but the aftermath of the poking and the draining and the picking of the eggs makes it a little bit painful afterwards, where you have abdominal pain, pelvic pain and stuff like that. But the only thing you have to use is just paracetamol or analgesic. I don't know what we going to do. So you just got some more analgesic that you have to use, and you'll be fine in a day or two. Sometimes it lingers to the second day, but give or take 24 hours, you'll be fine. So after this stage of the 5-day stage that they call it so we call it the cooking stage. So to a layman it's called cooking stage, so that people can understand, that people can relate to it. So some people call it forming stage, cooking stage, I don't know, but I call it cooking stage. So after 5 days you will be called on to come for egg transfer or embryo transfer. Don't forget I told you that the stage that it moves from egg to embryo is after it's been injected with sperm or after it has met with the sperm. So after 5 days you'll be called for embryo transfer while you come to the hospital. This is a very seamless and very painless procedure. You're going to be awake, a little bit of could come, because what they have to do is open you up, the vagina, open you up and deposit carefully the embryos in your uterus, womb, basically. So that's what you do. And after that you are expected to go home, and that period you're expected to go home for 2 weeks before your test. And that stage is called the waiting stage. That's the most traumatizing 2 weeks of anybody's life that's done IVF. It's like you writing an examination and you don't even know the result, and your life depends on the examination, and you don't know the result. You can't even check the result. The result comes out in 2 weeks, and there is no how you can get the result until you wait for that 2 weeks, and the exam is like your life depends on it. So there's no expo, there's no guy me to check it, so you literally have to wait for 2 weeks. So the waiting period of 2 weeks, look, to some people is like, if you ask them, I have a series of people, some will tell you it's like 2 months, some will tell you it's like 2 years, they can't wait, So afterwards you're expected to come to the clinic, because they don't want you to do it at home, not because you cannot do it at home. Everybody does, anybody can pick up PT strip and just do pregnancy test. Sometimes they advise you to come to the clinic because they'll prefer to do a blood test rather than a urine test. That everybody knows. PT strip is about 100 naira, 200 naira, so anybody can just pick up PT strip and do pregnancy test. But they prefer you to come to the hospital so that you not write yourself out, so that you not be like, oh, I'm not and if it goes south, so that they'll be there to encourage you and give you words of encouragement, so to speak. So that's why they prefer you coming to the clinic for tests. And the test result comes either negative or positive. If you're lucky, really lucky, it comes out positive. And if you're still lucky, I won't call it unlucky, it comes out negative. So that's the way of life. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. So you're advised to go home, don't do too much. You're still going to be placed on medication, which I'm going to list the name of the medications, or the names of the medication, in my next video. So you're going to be on some medication, sometimes oral injection, gestone injection, and 1 or 2 and some other injection. Meanwhile, I need to remind you that from the beginning of the process, that's the day one you start having interest in doing IVF, or you're going to see the doctor, or you want to start the cycle, you'll be advised to be on folic acid. Very, very important. I try to conceive my TTC mommies. Folic acid, you can't have too much of it. You cannot have too much of folic acid. In as much as routine drugs for some pregnant women for some pregnant women, routine drugs is like what to them. But that is why they make folic acid very small. They call it small but mighty. You need to take folic acid from day one throughout your pregnancy to year 1, basically. So that's just one out of many drugs that you're going to be on. And you'll be advised to come back after 1 week. And what we'll be doing there after 1 week is to check for the sac. So in that process, they need to know how many sacs, and if it's a sac, okay, let us see. But sometimes when it comes to 2 sacs, sometimes it could be twins, sometimes it could be triplets, sometimes it could be quadruplets. A sac can contain 2 kids, 2 babies. A sac can contain 1 baby. It could be triplets. One can contain a baby, while the other one contains 2 babies. So we don't know how God works. So coming. Change your clothes because of wear clothes because of the AC. So basically, you'll be excuse me. So basically, you'll be called in for another test. That makes it 3 weeks after the transfer. So you'll be called in for another test, and they'll know the number of sacs that you have. And the following week, you're called in for another test as well to check for the heartbeat of the child or of the children. So if it's 1 heartbeat, singleton. If it's 2 heartbeats, twins. 3 heartbeat, triplet. 4 quadruplet. 5 6 blah. So that's how it is. So basically, that is how it is. So you're still going to be on some medications. In some hospitals, they don't sign you out until you're 2 months gone. Some just sign you out after a heartbeat. They sign you out. What I mean by signing out is that you're going to write your history. You're going to write your full history, the kind of medications you were on, and how you conceived, the reason for the IVF, maybe male infertility, female infertility, break it down, maybe low sperm count, motility or mobility of the sperm, and different things. If it's a female, they're going to explain maybe pains, different things could cause infertility or delay in pregnancy. I tend not to call it infertility. I prefer to call it delay in pregnancy, so to speak. So some sign you, some don't sign you early. Some still want to keep close tabs on you until they're sure that they can let you go, because the first 13 weeks is the most crucial part of IVF. That's the first 3 months, which some people call first trimester. So if you want to lose it, because after first trimester, the chances of miscarriage, not as if there's no chance, but the chance of miscarriage drops. So you get me. So that's that about that. And in the next video, we'd like to show you, and we'd like to discuss how it is when it's successful, when it's not successful, how to deal with loss, how to pick up yourself together. Don't play self-guilt. I've heard mothers that will say, it is my fault, or maybe because I wasn't resting enough. My dear, even natural conception without IVF, without assistance, you have all the rest in this world and you still have a miscarriage. I've seen full-time moms that have full-time housewives that have domestic staff at their disposal. I know one that have a chef, the cleaner, the gardener. She has a driver. She had all the rest she could get, and she still had a miscarriage. So we are not God. So IVF is just like assistance. It's just, and the process, the point where, the funny thing here is at the point where they deposit the embryo into your uterus, their hands off. There's nothing they can do, because the reason for the IVF in the first place is to bring those things out and mesh together, because you don't have access. God has not given them that access. In as much as how vast science could be, God has not given them that access to enter and do your magic. If you want to do your magic, you have to bring it out and do your magic and put it back there. So the process of depositing the embryos back, or the baked embryo or the cooked embryo back into the uterus, at that point they don't have any power again over it. Some hospitals, the clinic that I used, they will tell you that at this point we've done all we can do as human, so we now leave God to do what we cannot do. We leave it to God to continue from where we stopped, because of course He has the final say. No matter how much you spend, 5 million, 10 million, 4 million, I don't know if you okay, maybe if you decide to use that outside the country and you convert it to naira, you know how many millions you're investing into having a child or having a baby. So no matter what you do, if you like, go to the best hospital or the best hospitals in the world. In as much as the embryo has been transferred back into the uterus, at that point there's nothing they can do anymore. What they have to do is just hope. All they have to do is pray. So IVF or no IVF, even IVF, natural conception, whatever it is you want to do to get pregnant, there is always a God factor in it, or whatever it is you believe in. There's always a God factor in it because of what I just explained earlier. After doing all of this, you still have to, tell God, God, I've done my part as human. Do what I cannot do as human. And, you just take the glory. So thank you for watching my channel. I'll see you in part 2.